Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows and Current Affairs, and today we're going to be taking a comprehensive look or a follow-up over how the government and the Egyptian administration is continuing to support and empower youth in Egypt and in Africa worldwide. As we all know that empowering youth and preparing them to be future leaders has been over the shoulders of the Egyptian administration ever since President Abdel Fattah Sisi have set his feet into office. And as we have seen everywhere or every while and then, the youth forums, the monthly national youth forums and the international youth forum have been set every year and every month, and also different projects that empower youth and different steps taken to be able to stretch the hands of the Egyptian administrations together with youth towards a better future. Today we're going to be talking about those efforts and how far have Egypt reached. We're very delighted to be having with us here live in the studio Dr. Motaaz Abu Zaid, and of course he is a professor of international law. And good evening, Dr. Abu Zaid.
Good evening, Ms. Dina. Thank you.
As we all know that Egypt had been well recognized in almost everywhere in the region, not only in the Arab world but in Africa, by empowering youth, by being a Mecca and a center for youth to be able to come and acquire help, acquire education, acquire training, acquire different studies and different abilities to be able to seek their oats in the near future.
Yes.
If you'd like to elaborate over that.
Of course, here in Egypt, talking or observing the development or the progress happened in the strategies and procedures of the Egyptian administration about empowering and supporting youth. Of course, it will be a continuous dialogue and endless one. Firstly, it was noticed from the participation of the youth as the great arm or the great power in the political changes happened in Egypt, and of course the social ones since 2011, and of course in 30 June 2013. These political changes which was really happened by youth and by their principles, their ideas, proved that this country is still alive and still active with the spirit of this youth. The second part, or the second base that encouraged the Egyptian administration to take these steps is the legal frame or the new principles or the new beliefs showed or expressed in the new constitution of Egypt in 2014 about the commitment of the country to support youth, young people, and giving them chances, giving them all opportunities, supporting their targets, their dreams, their visions for the future of this country. And of course this legal frame or this principle in the constitution opened a new way for the Egyptian government to achieve more progress in this file. The third base or the third point happened by or achieved by the Egyptian administration is filing this topic. It wasn't one of the topic with the Egyptian administration that can be discussed or can be showed or can be a topic for maybe more funds, more cooperation with other countries. No, it's now taking a new figure as supporting youth now take a social extent, a political one, an economic one, of course an international one, regional as you said with the Arab or African countries, and by these three bases, of course there is a new figure or a new vision for supporting youth and empowering them here in Egypt.
Under this new vision, youth have achieved a lot. What have happened? What changes have been effected over the current generation of youth who are actually very lucky compared to the ones that were born back in 30 or 40 years back,
Yes.
let us say 30 years back. Compared to each other, what changes have been effected from your own point of view?
No, there is large changes happened. Firstly, the definition of youth, the enlarging of the space, considering people as the age of youth, it was extended now to the age of 40 or maybe more than 40, which before cannot be considered as youth or young people. The second change is considering these people as a very important category in the Egyptian society. Of course, they are not just a number in the population, but they are the great ratio in this population and the effective one. And this was a very important notice or very important opportunity for the Egyptian country, many times expressed or mentioned by the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, that to ensure that Egypt is a country of youth. Egypt is lucky with this large ratio in its population taken by youth. We are not like many other countries that old people or senior people take the majority of its population, and this expressed the different in the vision of the Egyptian administration for dealing with youth. On the other side, not only the vision or the beliefs of the Egyptian administration, there were some steps or some procedures taken by the Egyptian administration. Firstly, a large extent of participation for youth in all fields, beginning with the political one, as it was the spark for this change in the Egyptian society. The second one, the participation dealing with many cases and topics internationally, happened by the summits or the conference of youth, participated by another Arab and African or even foreign countries. This made, I think, for my point of view, two main or two great results. The first one, of course, a very wide field for exchange experience for these youth with other of foreign countries. The second one, how we can show the differences happened in our society, how we can show the progress achieved by us. Like to have in one conference of these conferences a session called Meet the President or Ask the President. It wasn't existed before. It wasn't even permitted before. Opportunities for youth was included just in some opportunities for apartments for residents, or maybe for opportunities or vacancies of work, but to take an active movement or a very I can call it a live movement by participating in these conferences, by these new shapes of participation. I think this must be noticed or expressed for the Egyptian youth to be showed to the international society. The third one, or the third change can be noticed for the Egyptian youth, according to the steps taken by the Egyptian administration, is the courage nowadays to ask for participation or to ask for having opportunities in this change.
If you could excuse me, of course, Dr. Abu Zaid, we've got to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the empowering of youth in a few moments, so stay with us. Welcome back, and of course still talking about empowering and supporting youth, and very delighted to be having our dear guest, Dr. Motaaz Abu Zaid, Professor of International Law. We were talking about the space that is given by the Egyptian leadership to youth, this generation of youth. a whole lot of some of freedom of expression was given to that generation that wasn't there before. Complete freedom of expression, no censorship over anything. It's amazing to watch. We, as our generations, watching the new generation could be easily able to express themselves in whatever language and with whom, with the president of the country, which is the new fashion to us and to everybody. Even in European countries, you couldn't find that. Complete democracy, expressing themselves and also criticizing the government or criticizing some things in society, criticizing some very old-fashioned notions that has been inherited year after year, and trying to change them. And even the president is encouraging them to do so.
Of course, it's a step on the right way. No one can deny the important role of youth according to the changes, as we said, in the Egyptian society, and no one can neglect this evolution happened in the way of expression, understanding, dealing with this youth. Many sources of knowledge and awareness reached to these youth. Of course, maybe by the internet, by books, by sites, maybe dealing with their role models as celebrities, maybe writers, authors, or something like this. So the new way of thinking of these youth must be respected and must be supported and must be absorbed, of course. This is a right way as we can obtain these ideas, invest them for a new step and a new evolution for our country. If there is a space for this investment, so if there is no space or there is no facilities to do this nowadays or in this time, so we can just welcoming these ideas or taking a space for expression, as you said, is also a way of respect. That will be better than dealing with these ideas with another constitutions, another groups, another maybe associations, or maybe harmful or illegal way of thinking and practice, or a wrong way of objection to take these efforts or these ideas from youth and be in one day or another a weapon in the back of our country. So as we said, it's a right step on the right way to listen to these youth, invest these ideas, and of course it will be a benefit for our country and for all of us.
Right. Also talking about the whole culture that has been changed, that youth is the fruits for tomorrow.
Yes.
And that is going to harvest tomorrow. And not only the Egyptian administration, but also society have been taking youth in a different way.
Yes.
And regarding them in schools, like for example in education, like in sports, the youth and sports ministry, the different categories and the different activities that are held, and a whole program is set to be able to encourage all sectors of youth, those with special needs, those who live in the informal settlements. I mean, new fronts that we haven't had been witnessing before.
Yes.
If you like also to elaborate over that.
Of course, I think these points were a message sent firstly by revolutions happened by these youth having a life of pride or dignity, saving human rights for these categories, as you said. And of course, no field can be considered far from the benefits and the service can be presented for these youth. As you said, beginning with the education, the main base the main way of thinking, the main way of cultivating some principles or ideas in the brain of these youth, learning them how to be loyal for this country, how to belong to this country, how to work for a new vision or a new step for the evolution of this country. As we said, the sports, of course, it's a very wide field that youth can participate in. And of course, we noticed last week's the participation of our youth in the Olympic championship in Tokyo. It was very presentable, and it was very respected and welcomed by all categories of the Egyptian people, especially for our champions that gained some medals. Of course, it was a very fruitful participation, as you said. On the other hand, the Egyptian administration encouraged some other steps, like learning these youth how to participate in a right way, how to create their own space to participate in, and how to take their opportunity, especially through some training programs like the PLP, the presidential program for training youth, preparing them for many leadership positions here in Egypt as vice ministers, as vice governors. And of course, this was a new step or a new figure, as you said, never watched here in the Egyptian society. Of course, the new institutions or the new bodies initiated or can be said constructed by youth as a coordinating committee of political youth تنسيقية. It was very welcomed by the Egyptian society, and it presented a very effective participation in the last elections and many political movements here in Egypt. Of course, on the other hand, the existence of the National Academic for Training, it welcomed a very large of new appointed youth in many positions and many places and ministries here in Egypt, training them how to revise their thinking about the country, notice these achievements that happened for youth, and encouraging them to give more and more to make any evolution according to this system, welcoming these youth nowadays. And of course, a batch of another graduated from this academy. I think they made a very remarkable change in many fields here in Egypt.
You mentioned the political leadership, and we have seen also in that particular sector how youth have taken a leap.
Yes.
Like in Tanzania, for example, and other places. And we have seen members of the parliament from youth.
Yes.
A good
very
percentage.
Young youth. Yes.
Right. And also at the same time, we have seen members in political parties.
Yes.
Political parties is almost full of youth as members. And also they are leaders of committees inside.
Yes,
how important is it to prepare them parliamentarians and politicians, and to let them to introduce them to that word at an early age?
Of course, it's a great system that must be passed through to reach these positions or reach these opportunities. Firstly, as we said, we made the legal frame settled by the constitution, and after that the strategies and procedures taken by the government, and of course the result we noticed by ourselves by seeing these figures or these examples or models in the parliament elections, or maybe in the different leadership position in the government. Of course, I think it will be a responsibility for this youth, of course, because it's not a very great thing to notice or to have a person in a young age occupying a certain position here in Egypt. But the most attractive thing is noticing his history, how in this very little number of years he can achieve a very good step in his education, took many trainings, took many experiences in this young age, and of course this was a very great qualification to occupy this position or to have this seat in the parliament or something like this. So it can be considered as a responsibility, or saying for new youth, it will not be a paved way. It needs some work, it needs some effort, it needs some participation or more participation to be fit for these positions or these seats. And of course, as long as it is supported, as long as it's encouraged by the country, I think they will give birth for new models or new examples in participation of youth in these positions.
Right, and also making the best use of youth in whatever field, not only the political field, but other social fields, like in the new projects, Hayat Karima, for example.
Yes, of course.
It was founded by youth.
Yes.
And it was raised by youth. It's a whole 100% youth project or initiative.
Yes.
If you like to talk about that.
I will take your words that it's a nowadays opportunity for these initiatives, of course, because these ideas, if it was expressed or presented or since 20 or 30 years, I think there will be no place for these initiatives or any welcoming from the Egyptian administration to achieve these initiatives. Maybe for the lack of awareness, maybe the lack of facilities, the lack of funds, maybe to make this. But nowadays we are really a strong country, a new republic with a new thinking, larger space for youth to participate or to make these ideas or to present these ideas, and of course a very strong will from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to achieve these projects or to turn these initiatives to a real project noticed and seen by the people. The second point must be mentioned is, as long as this initiative can attract more volunteers, especially to participate in this initiative, of course this is a very clear mentioning that it will be a successful one. I will not go to participate as a volunteer or to support some initiatives if I will not notice that it will be promising or fruitful for the whole society. So as long as it's going on its way, it can attract more volunteers. And I admired very much the way of the initiating this initiative or to presenting this initiative for the Egyptian people, participating of many great names here in Egypt, businessmen, maybe actors or actress, politicians or something like this, encourages or make us feel how it was important to support this initiative and how it will be giving benefits or more benefits for the Egyptian society by achieving this initiative.
Right, but also at the same time, every youth should know that it's not only a criteria of young age as much as it is a criteria for good experience.
Yes, of course.
Good training, good hard work.
Yes.
Precisement, and all that.
Yes.
Because some might take it easy and depend on, I'm still young and you know, this is the fashion right now, and since I'm young, I'm going to attain this or that, I'm going to attain that position, I'm going to get a better job because I have priority than the elder age. Sometimes elder age have good experience better than one is working harder than the younger age. Yes. So this is also an important point that every youth should keep in mind. Yes. How important is that? The value of hard work and attaining experience at a very short time, as much as you can.
Yes, of course, yes. This is a very important and good point to be discussed. Even with all the steps or all the directions or all the visions taken by the country, making a new constitution, giving new legislations, having new strategies by the government or something like this, as long as the way of thinking of youth cannot be changed, there will not be an effective results in this
in
this topic. Of course, yes, and that's why I said that the models or the examples presented by the government taking positions in parliament or in government, even in young age, used for these positions, the more attractive thing was their experience, their CVs, their past achievements in many positions and many fields before taking this job or before occupying this position. Of course, as I said, it's a message. As long as you are giving this country, as long as you are giving an effort, as long as you are seeking for work and for achievements, they will be opportunities and they will be a space for participation. As you said, if it will be a field of fashion, I will wait till I will be older, I will be more experienced to have an opportunity like someone, or by a certain way, or having a chance to traveling abroad, maybe it will be a great opportunity. Of course, this will be wasting these opportunities, wasting your time and wasting your efforts that you can invest and you can give a useful participation in your country.
Right. At this very important note, we're going to be ending it here. Dr. Motaaz Abu Zaid, you are Professor of International Law. Thank you so much for coming to Windows and Current Affairs.
Welcome. Thank you.
It was a real pleasure, sir. And I guess this would bring us to the end of this edition of Windows and Current Affairs. Many thanks to all of you. Until we see you again next week, that's a goodbye.